The man in room 3 had no name. He had been brought in by ambulance on a Thursday night in October. No wallet, no phone, no ID of any kind. He was unresponsive when they found him on a sidewalk in Memphis, Tennessee, and he stayed that way for 4 days. The staff called him John. They always did when there was no name to use. He was somewhere between 50 and 65. That was the best the doctors could estimate. He had old scars on his hands that suggested years of physical labor. He had a tattoo on his left forearm, a small anchor faded almost to nothing, and a broken nose that had healed crooked a long time ago. That was all they had. The police ran his fingerprints. No match. They posted his description on the department's missing persons page. No calls. A social worker tried 3 times to identify him through regional databases. Nothing. By day 5, John Doe was stable but still unconscious, and no one in the world seemed to know he was there. That was the day Pauline Hurst came back from vacation. Pauline was a registered nurse. She had worked the 3rd floor of that hospital for 19 years. She was 54 years old, practical, unhurried, the kind of nurse who remembered details about patients long after they'd been discharged. She was doing her rounds on her first morning back when she stopped outside room 3. She looked at the chart. She looked at the man in the bed. She stood in the doorway for a long moment. Then she went to the nursing station and pulled up an old photograph on the hospital's internal system. A patient from 11 years ago, different floor, different unit. A man who had come in with a broken arm from a construction accident and stayed 4 days and left without leaving much of an impression on anyone except Pauline. She remembered the anchor tattoo. She remembered the crooked nose. She remembered that he had talked in his sleep, not words, just sounds, like someone working through something they couldn't resolve. She remembered his name. His name was Robert Denning. He was from Clarksville originally. He had listed an emergency contact 11 years ago, a sister named Carol. The number was disconnected. But Pauline didn't stop there. She spent her lunch break searching. She found a Carol Denning in Nashville, then a Carol Denning married name on a county property record, then a phone number attached to that address. She called from her personal cell phone. A woman answered on the 3rd ring. Pauline said, "I think we may have found your brother." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then Carol said, "We stopped looking for him 8 years ago. We thought he was dead." Robert Denning had been missing for 11 years. He had walked away from his life in 2012. No note, no warning, no explanation that anyone could find. His family had searched for 2 years, filed reports, hired someone. Eventually, they had done what families sometimes have to do, which is find a way to keep living without an answer. Carol drove to Memphis that same afternoon. She walked into room 3 at 6:15. Robert was still unconscious. She sat down next to his bed and took his hand and said his name. He opened his eyes 4 hours later. The first thing he saw was his sister. He was in the hospital for 3 more weeks. The medical details are his and not mine to share. What I can tell you is that he was discharged on a Tuesday morning, and that Carol was there when he walked out, and that they drove back to Nashville together. He has been living with her family since. Pauline Hurst was asked by a local reporter why she had stopped at room 3. Why that chart? Why that morning? Why she had remembered a patient from 11 years ago when she saw a man with no name in a hospital bed. She said, "I don't know. I just recognized something in him." You work somewhere long enough, you start to recognize people even when you don't know them yet. She paused. Then she said, "I just thought someone should know his name. Someone should always know your name."